once to a group of students, 55 of them. I asked, just close your eyes and say to yourself, I'm happy to be me. I like myself. Basically, I like myself. And allow yourself to feel. As you say this, be in touch with your feelings. After 4 minutes, I asked them, how many of you like yourself? Out of 55, 54 of them said, no, I don't like myself. This was a revelation for me. Another time I asked a group of religious people, priests and nuns, say to yourself, I'm happy to be me with all my defects and good qualities. I like me. I'm happy to be me. And most of them said no. If you ask yourself the same question, do I like myself as I am? You may be pretending, trying to impress others, but deep down, how do you feel? Most people don't like themselves. They feel some kind of guilt, some kind of rejection. Somebody is watching them trying to find their faults. Or they are focusing more on their defects, shortcomings, limitations, failures. How do you expect such people to be happy, to be joyful? Life becomes a burden to them. Once a Muslim couple came to me. They said it was a love marriage. They liked each other and they married. They had one son, 5 years old. And the husband said, it is already 7 years since we are married. And we have spent together only 3 days. And I love her immensely, nobody else. And she said, I hate him. I know he loves me, but I don't like him to touch me. Though I know I'm his wife and I oblige him, I may lie down if he wants. I'll prepare the food, but I hate him. So I asked, why? Did he force you to do anything? Did he do some harm to you? She said, no. Then why? She said, that's why we are here. Then I asked him to tell me something more about the married life. And he said, we saw the photographs of each other and we liked each other, we met each other and we loved each other. But after 3 days he had to go to America for his work. And he returned after 7 years. And he said, all that matters to him is his wife and his child. But she hates him. It was strange for me to hear that during these 7 years, they spent together only 3 days. Why? I asked. And then he told me, when he came to India to get married to this woman, his brothers came to the airport to receive him. But they met with an accident and they were killed, both of them. So the marriage had to be postponed. Unmarried, 3 days they spent together and he went back to America. Now when he comes back, his wife doesn't like him at all. So I asked, where does she stay? She stays with her in-laws. What does that mean? Mother-in-law, father-in-law, and 2 sisters-in-law. Sisters-in-law, they are widows then, that means? Yes. That gave me a clue, and I said, you are getting married to their brother-in-law or coming to that family made them become widows. In other words, their husbands died because of your marriage. And she jumped and said, yes, Father, you understood me, Father. You understood me, Father. She feels terribly guilty. Her husband is alive, but her in-laws are widows. Now we have to sit and find out how to deal with that. And they thanked me and went away after counseling. Let me give you some more examples how people begin to hate themselves or begin to feel some kind of remorse or hatred, disgust. Once a religious sister told me her father was sick and she went home before to be with him. About 2 weeks she spent with him and then she had to return to the convent in Pune. She is from Kerala. And when she was about to return, her father pleaded with her to stay some more days. But she said, no, my leave is over. I had to return to the convent. And when she returned to the convent, those days it took 2 days at least for the train to reach. So when she returned to the convent, there was a telegram saying, Father expired. And she had to return immediately for the funeral. But when she reached, the funeral was over and she feels terribly guilty. Once, some time back, a very pretty looking young lady came to meet me with her son, little baby and brother. And she said, I have this problem of all kind of stomach upset. I feel terrible very often. So I said, you should go to a doctor. No, I have gone to the doctor and doctor said it is some other problem. Physically, you are perfectly all right. So I asked her, does your husband love you? Family members love you? She said, yes, I have a wonderful husband. He loves me immensely. And my in-laws also love me. My father died after my birth and my mother was looking after this thing. And she often said, from the time you are born, I have many problems. I said, repeat what you say. From the time you are born, I have a lot of problems. Now see, this innocent girl, she is intelligent, smart, loved by her husband, in-laws. And she often, as she was talking to me, she would say, sorry, Father, if I take your time. Forgive me, Father, if I take your time. I said, why do you say like that? She said, even my mother told me from the time you are born, I have problems. So I asked, your mother, even your mother doesn't like you from the time you were born because your birth was causing problems for your mother. She said, yes, Father, yes, that's true. How can a girl whose birth was causing pain or problems to her mother be happy? And I had to sit with her, counsel her, and she went home happily. After some years, when I was in Jesuit house, in the afternoon, I say Mass at 1:15. A young lady came closer to me and smiled profusely. I said, I have seen you somewhere. Who are you? And she said, I am so and so. You gave me life back, Father. Did you hear that? She says, you gave me life back, Father. I asked, are you so and so? She said, yes. Now I'm so happy. You see, I knew another Hindu. He was of a low caste. One day, she drank water from a well that was meant for high caste people. And he feels he has done something terrible. See how the guilt comes in different forms, different shapes, different ways. Not always because you have done something wrong, but because of the society, the religion in which you belong, make you feel guilty. They may not be intending to make you feel guilty, but it very often happens to be like that. For example, I myself used to feel terribly guilty because I was born in a Christian family. Two reasons I used to feel guilty. First, Adam ate an apple. He didn't eat, only bit. Because of that, sin came. And poor Jesus had to suffer a lot on the cross because of the sin, because of my sin. I couldn't understand this. Adam from the beginning, I didn't know. Even Jesus, he was born many thousands of years, 2000 years before I was born. And how did I make him die on the cross through my sin? But I was told my sin was responsible for his death. So I used to feel terribly guilty. From my name, you must have noticed, I belong to Goa province. And I did my training, started in Bombay first. And I didn't have Western background. My English was ordinary English. I didn't have proper English, good accent, pronunciation. So I used to feel terribly guilty because others could speak well, fluently. I felt miserable about myself. So what is this guilt, this self-hatred? It comes in different forms, different ways. Once an Indonesian Jesuit told me, when he was studying in Pune, on his birthday, some companions, Jesuits and some sisters, they wanted to celebrate his birthday. And he said, no, no, no. But they bought a cake and they sang happy birthday. And after a few months, he got the news his father died. And he was feeling terribly guilty. I asked why? Because he was originally a Muslim and converted into Christianity, and according to their belief, if father's birthday and son's birthday is on the same date, the son should not celebrate. If he celebrates, something will happen to his father. So he used to feel bad. He never celebrated his birthday. But his sister used to get all kinds of gifts. And he used to wonder how she is getting, not me. And then his mother told him, you were born on the same date, your father's birth. Therefore, he was feeling guilty for celebrating the birthday, and he thought he was responsible for his father's death. There are many human Christians, particularly others, feel terribly guilty during the prayer. They get distractions, or they feel sexual attraction, sexually attracted to the opposite sex, and they feel guilty about it, terribly guilty. Isn't it something very funny and strange? What is this guilt? I told you it is a kind of self-rejection, a feeling something is wrong with me. I'm not up to the expectations of my parents, my teachers, some priests, or some respectable people. Therefore, since I am not up to their expectations, there is something terribly wrong with me. I don't like myself. And these guilt feelings can come from religion, from the society in which you live, from various circumstances. Let me give you some examples. Do you feel guilty for eating supper? Osho says he used to feel terribly guilty because a Jain is supposed to eat before the sunset. Does any one of you feel guilty for eating onion or potatoes? The Jains feel very guilty because anything under the earth you should not eat. It is not pure. The Christians don't feel guilty for eating meat. The Muslims don't feel guilty for eating meat. But if it is pork, the Jew and the Muslims will feel terribly guilt, not the Christians. So where does this guilt come from? Because of your conditioning, because of your beliefs. Do you feel guilty when you cut your hair? A Sikh will feel because khada, kes, khalsa, all these are important for them. 5 Ks. A Sikh is not supposed to cut his hair, any part of the body. But others don't feel guilty, but he will feel terribly guilty. So the guilt is an evil which should be hated and must be got rid of as early as possible. In no way guilt helps, because when you feel guilty, you are crippled. You don't have the energy to be yourself. Even the energy to do good is taken away. You believe unless you conform to others, there is something wrong with you. Have you experienced that yourself? So guilt comes. So there is a belief, unless we conform to what others think, what others say, some ideals, some principles, if we don't live according to that, there is something wrong with me. That is why wise people say guilt must be hated like the very devil himself. But then you may ask this, whether can a person get rid of this feeling of guilt? Now 2 more questions I want to ask about this guilt feeling. We saw where the guilt is coming from. Not necessarily because you have done something wrong, but because you are not according to the expectations, beliefs, ideals of other people, culture, religion, or the God in whom you believe. Not because necessarily you have done something wrong. You are not conforming to those ideals. Have you ever come across any person who lives to the ideals given by others? I believe in Jesus Christ. Not even Jesus Christ has lived according to the ideals given by his religion. For example, he often used to break Sabbath. He used to mix with sinners, tax collectors. But the Jews of his family of they considered him how can he break the laws given by God? Therefore he is a sinner. He breaks Sabbath law. He mingles with sinners, tax collectors. He is friendly with prostitutes who are sinners, so to say. How can he be a holy man? For a Jain, Jesus cannot be a holy man, not only because he is meat. The Jains don't eat meat. He has even ordinary water he turned into wine. That is alcoholic. Therefore, how can he be a God man? See, this logic is not correct. There is something wrong. People who give you ideals, they themselves do not live that, and they make life miserable for others. Of course, when I have big ideals, when I demand that you live according to those ideals, there is nobody who lives according to that. And we can feel important. Some kind of ego feels nice. So guilt is given by those people who themselves do not live those ideals. Check it with. No ideals are very helpful for human beings. One. And there is no human being who can live an ideal perfectly well. We can always find some fault, some shortcomings, some limitations. It is like the crab telling his son, walk straight. And finally the little big crab, baby crab said, Daddy, show me how to do that, walking straight. So something impossible. So guilt comes from these type of ideals, principles given by others when we are not able to conform to that. But then you may ask, the very fact you are suffering from guilt, is it not showing something is wrong with you? How can it be? Why it is wrong with me? Like that girl who said, from the time you are born, I have problems. Did she bring the guilt? Did she bring the problems to her mother? No. And did she ask to be born? No. If at all, if she was born, the one who is responsible, partly at least, is her parents. And they are putting their guilt on to her. So you see, there is no logic in that. Somebody else may say, is it not in a way helpful when we are really wrong, something wrong that we don't like ourselves, we feel guilty, we feel bad, will it not help me to live a better life? That is maybe an argument, like it may be good. But if I am doing good because of the fear of punishment or because I feel guilty, it is not a good action. It is an action that is coming out of fear. And any relationship in fear is not very healthy. It is only coming out of guilt, self-hatred. How can there be a relationship when there is hatred, self-hatred? And if our relationship with God is out of fear, out of hatred towards oneself, what kind of relationship is that? It is a religion that creates guilt feeling. Do you think Jesus or God created us to feel miserable, to be guilty, to hate our own life, hate ourselves? And when you hate yourself, won't you hate others also? When you feel terribly guilty, won't you also make other people also to feel guilty? Guilt is a devil, so to say, is an evil to be got rid of. But when I really do wrong, I feel some kind of guilt, remorse, self-hatred. Is it not good? No. Why? Because when you suffer from guilt, what you hate is not evil. What you hate is yourself. See, the concentration camps. Many people did lot of evil things. They never felt guilty about it. Do you think those so-called terrorists, when they bombed that World Trade Center in New York, they felt guilty about what they were doing? Or see some of the Muslim parents and men, they persecute their own daughters because she marries somebody whom they love, they like. They have burned them. They feel they are doing a good thing. It's an honor killing, is it? So you see, these type of, when you make another person feel guilty, or when you try to make another person in the name of to be good according to some principles or ideals, you are not helping that person. You are only showing your hatred towards that person. So guilt in any form should be avoided like the poison. Let me end with a small story for your reflection. There was a man who built a beautiful house, wooden house. It was very pretty and beautiful. Some people wanted to buy it. Once a very rich person bought it, and he said, made a contract. But one day, this man did not know his son had sold it. And when he came, he saw the house was burning. And he was feeling very miserable. What was he hating? That his beautiful house is gone? And as he was crying, his son came and said, Daddy, I sold that house and we got the money, and very good amount of money. Then he felt very happy. What was he crying for? For the evil. He was not crying for the evil. That beautiful house is gone. No. He was crying for himself. He lost the money. When he realized he got the money, he is not feeling bad. The same way, when the guilt comes, what we hate is not the evil, but what we hate is ourselves. Guilt is an evil that must be avoided by all means. I'll end my talk now today.